Well, thank you. Good afternoon, Talkback. You're up next to the open phone segment. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Hamilton.
Yes.
I have a simple question to ask, and I believe it has something to do with the guest you had on earlier, Mr. Crow.
Yes.
All right. What I'd like to know, as a young African-American man, is are you under the impression that European Americans should hire African Americans?
I personally under this impression.
All right, but to believe that, to have that impression, you have to go under the premise that we're all equated equal, correct?
Well, look, I can understand that you want to do this 20 questions thing, but we don't have enough time for that.
All right,
What's the point that you want to make here?
Well, what I'm saying is this. For generations, it seems that us as African-American people have struggled with this reality that we find ourselves in, unemployed, unable to create infrastructure, and we haven't seemed to come up with a very basic solution, and that's developing our own economy. You can't expect another people to want to enrich you. I've only been on the earth for 28 years, and I don't believe we're in a world that's mature enough, and we as humans don't truly believe in equality yet. So I can't see why people are struggling with this. You're not getting the jobs because it's not, first and foremost, it's not their responsibility to hire you. Secondly, why would they want to enrich you? I don't get it.
Well, you know, what you're pointing to is a very important conundrum. And here we come to, I guess, an ideological parting of the ways. Because unlike some people, and I do not condemn those who feel differently, but unlike some people, I'm not a separatist. I happen to believe that the African American people, whose predecessors for generations have contributed to the construction of this country, and probably and arguably have laid more of a foundation. You could not. Let's put it this way: you could not create a country like the United States today, starting from scratch, no matter how desperately you wanted to or how much money you have. And the reason for that is that that in order to be able to do this, you would have to have several hundred years of free labor that is available to you to be able to construct the foundations of the society. So you can't do this. This thing that we have created in this country, you cannot recreate it now.
I agree.
So what does that mean? What that tells me is this: that going back to 1619 or whenever, and all the way through to 1965, from 1619 to 1865, when slavery was formally abolished, when we had the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 and the abolition of slavery at the end of the Civil War, and through to 1965, when we had the official end of American apartheid in Jim Crow segregation. For all of that time, what you had was millions of human beings in a state of either enslavement or segregated subjugation. Yes. Free labor to construct to build the foundations of the society. Now, I believe that African Americans today are entitled to reap the benefits of that sacrifice and that contribution. And so to me, I frame it differently. To me, it is not about whether white America ought to be giving black Americans job. It is whether America as a society, as a social construct, has an obligation to its black citizens as well as to its white citizens.
Yes,
and when you frame the question that way, when you frame the question that way, I think you come to an entirely different set of conclusions, because now it is not that one constituency is looking to another constituency to provide employment. It is that people are equally entitled to reap the benefits of that which of the prosperity that has been constructed.
Mr. Hamilton,
yes,
I think
go ahead.
we've dealt with this situation long enough to know that that's an aspiration and an ideal.
And I have no problem. I have no problem with approaching life from an aspirational point of view.
And you know what? I typically don't either. But when a group of people have struggled with their existence and their socioeconomic situation as long as African Americans have, I think it's time. I'm not saying that we throw that away, but we have to start acknowledging that. I don't even think we're ready for that yet.
But you see, sir, aspiration and acknowledgement are not mutually exclusive. You can, as a matter of fact, to aspire presupposes a recognition of an acknowledgement of the condition from which you are aspiring. And so in other words, you can to aspire does not mean that you are unaware of the conditions, the objective conditions and circumstances in which you are currently situated.
All right, that's great, but do you suggest that we keep aspiring and keep struggling in this manner, trying to convince another people who I find it very strange. I listen to WBAI as often as I can, that it seems throughout show, I don't know if I'm just not intelligent enough to pick it up and you guys are being extremely tactful with your delivery, but it seems like people don't acknowledge that the government knows exactly what's going on. They know the situation on the ground. They know what they're doing. And show after show, day after day, people complain and bring up these things as if these people aren't aware. They're aware of what's going on. If we start to change our ideology and then change our methodology under the premise that they know what's going on, I think we'd stop having circular conversations that, to me, don't really make any progress. Like, let's say people started thinking like I did, and then tomorrow started consolidating themselves, their wealth, to change things around. I think this problem could be over within 10 years, but instead we keep going to a government that has no intentions on changing things permanently or making this utopia that many people seem to think that American was destined or is currently. And I have nothing against the country. I have nothing against the people. I have friends of all ethnicities, and I don't blame them for anything. These are things that happened in the past that created the situation that we currently live in today.
I would let me say this. There's an old saying that in a world where all men think alike, no man thinks at all. And I think that there is plenty of room. Ours is a sufficiently large country, and it is a sufficiently diverse country, that there's plenty of room for people who think the way you do, and there's nothing inherently wrong with your way of thinking. I am suggesting, however, that your way of thinking should and can coexist with other ways of thinking, because there is not a single view or a single perspective in these complex issues that we are grappling with.
Yes, the issues are very complex, but the solutions aren't.
Okay, and from your I'll tell you this: for people like you who have the benefit of the certitude that comes with absolute conviction, that's a wonderful.
I'm not an absolutist. I'm
saying the certitude the certitude that comes from absolute conviction. You clearly you said the issues are complex, but the solutions are not. Because
economics isn't.
Okay, fine. So you are clearly convinced that you have a solution, you have a perspective that is correct, and that is fine. There's nothing wrong with your thinking that way.
I'm not convinced that my perspective is correct. What I'm trying to say is this: we know how most people know how economics works. Ownership is imperative to. Well, basically, to living, you can't not own, and African Americans are in a situation to where they don't.
Here again.
Asking for jobs.
Okay, here again. When you say most people know how economics works, economics does not exist in a vacuum. Economics exists as a system, as a man-made, as a man-made system. Exactly, it is part of a social construct.
Yes.
It is part of a social contract. Listen, we have. I'm going to have to ask you. You have the last word on this, and then we can continue this some other time.
I
have the last word because I've got to run. But go ahead and have the last word on this.
I thank you for your time, and I would just like to see people stop having these conversations. I mean, 10 years from now, people are going to keep having the same conversations because I think we're coming from the wrong standpoint. We're just assuming things that I think we should all know by now. It's sad. I don't know what to say.
Okay, listen, I enjoyed this exchange. Thank you very much. Keep listening and call me again.